Donald Trump's positive COVID-19 diagnosis has led to his supporters reacting in a way that it's predictable if you accept that this is a cult. And there is a line between being worried about someone who you support and admire and just outright fanaticism, and we see Trump supporters cross into fanatical territory. Case in point.
Bless our president! I will die for him! I will die for that man, happily! I will die for him! Anybody want to mess with him, you mess with me first! He is a hero, that man!
They're nuts.
This is not normal behavior. This is not a group of people who are loyal to Donald Trump because of any policy. This isn't about policy to them. This is about personality. They worship the person Donald Trump and what he represents, not what he is doing to them, the way that he's impacting them in a concrete, material way. So this behavior is completely bizarre, and that's why I say this is a cult. When I say that MAGA chuds are part of a cult, I'm not saying that as an insult. I'm saying that because it is a matter of fact that what we see from them is very cult-like behavior. And that's not to say that all Trump supporters are cultists, but there is a large subset of the population that worship him on a level that almost seems religious. Now, outside of Walter Reed Medical Center, when he was staying there, were hundreds, if not thousands, of Trump supporters with balloons for the president. They had signs that said, "Get well." They had signs saying that they were praying for him, just letting him know that they are there for him. And then on top of that, you had cars drive by with large Trump flags, and they were honking, and the crowd loved it. On top of that, they were blasting Staying Alive by the Bee Gees, which I can't play due to copyright issues, but there were a lot of Trump cultists that basically showed up to express their undying love, and in the process of expressing said undying love, you can see a lot of them were not wearing masks. Now, as Tina Wynn of Politico explains, by Sunday afternoon, hundreds of people had congregated outside the hospital. They handed out water and candy and stacks of pizza the Trump campaign sent over. They flew every brand of MAGA flag in the sky. The most devoted carried 20-foot pipes with 4 flags apiece mounted on them, marching them up and down the sidewalks. YMCA and Proud to be an American, both Trump rally staples, blared on repeat on boomboxes and generator-powered amps. MAGA country had gathered to celebrate and pray for its leader, an impromptu festival meets vigil for its venerated living saint. As the crowd grew larger and louder on Sunday, police put up barricades trying to contain the crowds from spilling into the streets. Ad hoc caravans drove up and down, honking their horns in jubilant support. Social distancing seemed like a distant concern, secondary only to the camaraderie and joy of supporting their convalescent leader, often maskless, often yelling over the din of cars into the ears of their newfound friends. Tamara, a nurse from North Carolina in a Star-Spangled MAGA hat who declined to give her last name, had driven 5 hours that morning to keep vigil for a short while with her teenage daughter and small dog. She had to drive the 5 hours back home that night so she could make her shift the next morning. Here and there, a strain of religious fervor shot through the crowd. Yeah, no shit. Trump was sent from God, declared one handwritten poster mounted on the fence outside the Naval Center on the Walter Reed complex. QAnon adherents, the mushrooming conspiracy that Trump is on the verge of purging Satan-worshipping pedophiles from government, made their presence known, holding signs with giant Qs. On their windshields, some had the secret hashtag WWG1WGA, which stands for the phrase, "Where we go one, we go all," something of a QAnon motto and pledge. Now, if you find all of this extremely bizarre and cult-like, unfortunately, these are probably the more sane, or should I say less deranged, MAGA chuds, because Wynn continues, quote, "You've never seen him sick. You've never seen him without energy." Brendan Dilley, a self-described MAGA life coach, told his viewers on his radio show Friday, "He's not walking around with weak-ass pussy-fucking genetics. He ain't got those liberal genes. These are like God-tier genetics, top 1 percentile genetics." Yeah. Further afield, Trump's most fervent supporters could hardly accept that Trump caught the disease in the first place, with some suggesting the Democrats, or perhaps the deep state, were somehow to blame. Does anyone else find it odd that no prominent Democrats have had the virus, but the list of Republicans goes on and on? Tweeted Deanne Lorraine, a former congressional candidate who has backed baseless theories from the QAnon conspiracy movement, going on to blast masks as a Democrat-backed lie and questioning whether China had technically made an assassination attempt on the first family.
They're nuts.
So when you hear some of his supporters talking about how he has God-tier genetics, and that this was an assassination attempt by China, and that maybe it's a conspiracy because Republicans are catching COVID-19, but Democrats aren't. I mean, one party's taking it seriously and encouraging people to wear masks and wearing them themselves, and the other is pretending like it doesn't exist. But I mean, when you see all of this, when you hear people say, oh, he was sent from God, how could you not come to the conclusion that this is a cult of personality? It's not even about politics anymore. This is about Donald Trump, the person, the figure. And I think The Onion basically had the best take on this, tweeting out, Trump supporters fighting over used tissues president tossed from SUV. And even though this is satirical, I mean, does anyone think that they wouldn't do something like this? Like, these people have expressed such a profound level of delusion that it wouldn't surprise me if, Trump were to do something like this and throw one of his tissues out. They would fight over it and try to inhale it and catch the virus because they think that they're catching some of Donald Trump's powers or genes. This is deeply scary because when you get to this level of worship of a political figure, then nothing that you say will get through to them. It's just a cult of personality, and whenever he's attacked, if you try to, speak some sort of common sense to them, they only rally around him more. Now, to get a sense of the mindset that we're dealing with here, NBC News reporter Shamari Stone actually talked to some supporters who were rallying outside of Walter Reed, and he did ask them something that was on my mind, why aren't you guys wearing masks? If the president who you support got COVID-19, wouldn't that make you want to take it more seriously? Their answer is not surprising, but it is still depressing, nonetheless.
What are your thoughts right now?
My thoughts right now is that Trump is in his 70s, He is at risk, but he's taking it like a champ, compared to what a lot of other people would say. So that's my take on the whole issue.
And I have to ask the question, why aren't you wearing a mask?
Well, I'm young, and I'm not at risk for COVID. So with the survival rates that we've seen, it's frankly hysteria what we're seeing with COVID. So,
are you ever concerned you could possibly be asymptomatic and pass it to someone else?
Yes, I do have those concerns, but I don't buy into the fear-mongering because where I'm at, I'm around other young people. We can power through this, but the fear-mongering about COVID needs to stop. Amen.
Okay, let me get this straight. So you don't want to wear a mask because to do so means you're buying into the fear-mongering, but you support Donald Trump. Just 2 years ago, he was screaming at the top of his lungs about the migrant caravan. Now he's screaming about how Joe Biden will bring socialism to America. Yes, Joe Biden, functionally a Republican, is supposedly posing this socialist threat to America. So you don't buy into the fear-mongering, except all of Trump's fear-mongering. So it's, selective fear-mongering that appeals to you. If you're fear-mongering about, a virus that's highly contagious and very serious, you'll only take it seriously insofar as Daddy Trump takes it seriously. I mean, this is a problem with cults of personalities because they really hold on to every single word that their leader says. So they're not going to do something unless their leader does something. So as long as Donald Trump doesn't take this seriously, then they're not going to take this seriously as well. And this is dangerous because think about this. If Donald Trump were to actually die because of COVID-19, they have put him on such a high pedestal that they wouldn't believe that it's possible. It would have to be some sort of conspiracy to them, that the deep state did this, or he was given COVID-19, or it was something else. He was poisoned. I don't want to put ideas in their head, but when you've reached that point where you're that delusional, where you have literally deified someone to the point where you believe that they are almost a demigod of sorts, and this type of virus can't possibly harm someone who you view as superhuman, that is deeply troubling. But at the same time, if he survives, then that is going to embolden them, and they're going to think that they were right to not take this seriously, when in actuality, Trump's survival is a likelihood only because he has access to the best healthcare in the world, which you lack. You may have health insurance, but you're not going to get the care that Trump's getting. You're not going to have a team of multiple doctors working around the clock to make sure that you're okay. You're not going to have to crunch the numbers to see what you can and can't afford. You're not going to have to bicker with your insurance company to make sure that they cover what you need to survive this. So Trump surviving is different from other people surviving. He is not representative of the general American population. So when you get to this level of derangement and cult-like behavior, it's just nothing good will come from it. You don't want that in politics. We want people who are being objective, who are supporting politicians because they've made an informed decision to do so, because that person's ideology and policy agenda aligns with theirs. But when we see this, where they're saying they'd die for Donald Trump, I mean, it's just, to say the least, it's fucking strange.
Mike is the worst progressive on YouTube. Please don't subscribe to him or become a patron. David Dole is so much better. Trust me, folks, he's doing a great job. He really is, okay?